The day of the car accident, I died on the operating table. Before I died, I heard my biological parents saying, "Lily is our daughter. We have the right to decide about her organs. We just need one kidney, take it now. Lucy urgently needs the surgery." Lucy, the one who took over my life as the fake heiress. When I opened my eyes again, I returned to the day they brought me home. A small 3-square-meter room full of garbage, reeking foul odors. I was tied to the bed, covered in red rashes, starving to the point of fainting. The door was locked from the outside, and the broken window was sealed shut. But I hummed leisurely, because I knew I would be saved. Sure enough, there was a loud banging at the door and familiar cries. "Lily, Mom and Dad are here, hang in there. Lily, say something." I put away my relaxation and started crying loudly. "Help." Eventually, the door was opened and my biological parents saw me, their eyes reddening as they rushed over and hugged me tightly. "Lily, you've suffered. Let's go home." "Okay, let's go home." Back to the home that haunted me even in death in my past life. Having starved for 3 days, I was receiving nutrients in a small-town hospital. Mom held me, crying endlessly, while Dad made calls to search for my adoptive mother. Just then, a girl dressed in a beautiful lotus skirt and adorned with luxury jewelry walked in, rushing over with delight and sweetly calling me sister. I knew her, Lucy, my parents' adopted daughter. She was raised as their own until her genetic kidney disease was discovered, revealing they had the wrong child. They looked for me while pampering Lucy, using the excuse good deeds bring rewards, hoping I was well cared for in another home. But I knew it was just to soothe their guilt, to make themselves feel better. Otherwise, why would I have to survive in such a stinking environment while Lucy enjoyed the best resources and education, loved as a little princess by our parents? "Lily, this is your sister Lucy." Mom wiped her tears and pointed at Lucy. I smiled at her. "Sister, what a pretty dress. Can I touch it?" Reaching out with my dirty hand, a flash of disgust crossed Lucy's eyes, but she quickly concealed it. "Of course, I have lots of pretty dresses. If you like them, I'll give them all to you." Satisfied watching her dress get dirty, I retracted my hand, admiring the gift I gave her. Things that don't belong to someone will always be tainted. I sighed. "Thank you, sister, but I'm sick. Wearing nice clothes would be a waste." My adoptive mother also said, "I don't deserve to wear nice clothes." Hearing this, Mom started to cry again. "That wretched woman, in this hot weather, without food or water, locking you in that room until you broke out in rashes. The doctor said there's a risk of viral infection. If there's any problem in the future, I'll sue her." I lowered my head. "Mom, meeting you makes me so happy. I don't care about anything else. Mom and Dad, can you spend more time with me?" My parents nodded emotionally, their eyes full of affection. I sneered inwardly. In my past life, when they first found me, they treated me like a treasure. But as Lucy's schemes unfolded, weren't they the ones who sent me, near death, to the operating table? "Lily is our daughter. We have the right to decide about her organs. We just need one kidney, take it now. Lucy urgently needs the surgery." Their voices still echoed clearly in my ears. Mom and Dad suggested taking me home to recuperate. Tears welled up in my eyes, but my adoptive mother won't let me leave. Every time I take a step out of the house, she hits me. "You can't take me away." "Mom and Dad, I don't want to be beaten anymore." I rolled up my sleeves, revealing twisted scars and pus-filled sores. Dad gasped, and Mom turned pale with shock, covering her mouth and sobbing. "No, child, you must come home with us. Trust us, we will take you away from here. It was our fault for swapping you at the hospital. We'll make it up to you, I promise." I lowered my eyes and shook my head. "But, you already have Lucy. I don't want to steal her love. I've never had love for 13 years. I'm used to it." Mom immediately assured me, "We are your biological parents. Loving you is only right. What you didn't have before, you'll never lack again. Come with us, okay?" I clung to Mom, crying, "Will I finally have parents? Can I finally stop getting beaten?" Across from me, Lucy watched with dark eyes, but when she met my gaze, she smiled gracefully. "Yes, sister, we'll all treat you well. Welcome home." Such a considerate and understanding act. Who could have guessed that such a seemingly pure and innocent girl planned my death in a car accident in my previous life? Taking everything from me wasn't enough for her. She wanted me to disappear entirely to be satisfied. In this life, I won't let that happen. I'll take back what's mine, and repay the harm done to me 100-fold. That night, Dad received a call and found Mary at a rundown motel. When the bodyguards brought her over, facing my powerful father, she trembled all over. "Mary, prepare yourself. We'll do the paperwork tomorrow. We're taking Lily. We are her biological parents." She paused, her expression changing instantly, I spent hundreds buying the girl. Why should you take her? Yes, I was abducted. In my past life, my floating soul understood everything. Lucy's biological mother swapped her child with me at the hospital, sending her daughter to live a luxurious life, while selling me to the widow Mary at a low price. Mary is hateful. She bought me just so I could grow up and go to those shabby chicken coops, using my body to make money to support her. Since I was a child, she only fed me enough, so I wouldn't starve. Beatings and scoldings were the norm. Maybe she thought raising a child was more expensive than buying one, so she recently planned to starve me to death. I had no sympathy for her at all. My mom was fed up with her shameless behavior. If you won't take respect, don't expect it. You think you bought my child? Just wait. We'll definitely sue you for human trafficking and child abuse. Mary was clueless about her impending doom. Then you should at least give me 200,000. I can't raise your kid for nothing. Not a penny. Just wait and go to jail. My dad had her kicked out and instructed people to keep an eye on her, so she couldn't escape. That night, my mom held me tightly, telling me about all the years of longing and guilt. On another small bed, Lucy tossed and turned, seemingly unable to sleep all night. We spent over 10 days in the small town. My parents successfully gained custody of me, and Mary ended up in jail. In front of a luxurious villa in the city center, a middle-aged woman in a maid's outfit stood at the door, smiling warmly and bowing to us. Sir, madam, young ladies, welcome home. Mom and Dad held Lucy's and my hands and walked straight inside. Is everything prepared as we asked? The maid nodded. Everything's ready. I looked past the maid and felt a sharp, poisonous stare. I suddenly raised my head and met the maid's sinister eyes. She quickly smiled. What's wrong, young lady? I smiled back. Nothing. Interesting. It seems everything is just like the last life, unchanged. Susan was still lurking in the house, watching her biological daughter Lucy live the high life while being close enough to care for her every day. She was smart enough to switch me and her daughter at the hospital, then sneak into our house as a maid, earning a salary while caring for her own daughter. Such deep but fervent motherly love. And I, the real daughter, became their sacrificial lamb. I only found out after I died in the past life. Now, I will peel their skins off layer by layer. No one gets away unscathed. My parents gave me a card loaded with 20 million and told me to do whatever I wanted. They also gave me some assets. As for accommodations, under Susan's arrangement, the biggest and most luxurious room was prepared for me. I shook my head, refusing. Mom, Dad, this is my sister's room. I won't take it from her. I'm okay with any room, as long as I can be with you every day. In the past life, after I came back, Susan used the excuse of compensating me on behalf of my parents, giving me all of Lucy's things. Back then, I was naive, thinking this was my parents' love. Later, I realized, through these forced takings, my parents felt more and more guilty towards Lucy, while seeing me as greedy. Now, I'm not that foolish. My parents praised me for being considerate, and Susan, not looking too pleased, took me to see other rooms. I picked a medium-sized one and settled in. My mom had Susan bring over pretty new dresses, took me in her arms, and said gently, Mom didn't know your size, but whenever I bought new clothes for your sister, I ordered one for you in her size. See if you like any. I picked out a lotus dress, identical to the one I had dirtied for Lucy earlier. I walked over to Lucy, tilting my head, smiling friendly. Sorry for dirtying your dress that day, sister. Here, this one's for you. Lucy was stunned, instinctively taking the dress. I cupped my chin, watching her. Sister, don't be mad, okay? Go put on the new dress. I'll wear a new dress too, and we can go out together, alright? Her hand trembled, forcing a smile. Sister, I'm not mad. This is the dress Mom bought for you. I have plenty. You don't need to give it to me. I turned to my mom, teary-eyed. Mom, is sister mad at me? Is that why she won't accept my dress? Or does she not want to play with me? Mom, maybe I should go back. I don't want her to be unhappy. My mom quickly comforted me, and Lucy, fearing for her image in our parents' eyes, quickly added, I'm not mad. My mom sighed. Lucy, play with your sister for a while. Lucy reluctantly agreed, frowning as she went to her room to change dresses. Susan's face turned several colors, her eyes filled with worry and anger. I happily played games with Lucy in the garden, until she broke out in rashes, and passed out from breathing difficulty half an hour later. Susan rushed her to the hospital. I stood there, smiling. There's a simple way to deal with this mother and daughter. A paternity test. Once the results are out, they'll be kicked out for sure. But I want them all to pay a heavier price. The tests showed she had a serious allergic reaction from exposure to a large amount of sycamore pollen. My parents, worried about the just awakened Lucy, comforted her before seeking the source. There were no sycamore trees in the backyard. Where did the pollen come from? I stayed silent, but I knew well. Those clothes Susan prepared for me were sprinkled with sycamore pollen. Her goal was to trigger an allergic reaction in my weak immune system. In the past life, I didn't understand, and my parents thought my rashes were a lingering illness from Mary's house. It continued for years, and by the time I got better, my body, even my face, had scars. So, my engagement was easily stolen by Lucy. All the suffering I endured back then, I'll make them experience it. At this moment, Susan's guilty head hung low. As my parents probed deeper, Lucy weakly spoke up. Mom, Dad, it was me. I just went to play outside and found the sycamore trees beautiful, so I stayed there longer. Their suspicions eased, they comforted her to rest. Mom, I feel so bad. Lucy snuggled into my mom's arms, who tenderly caressed her forehead. She looked at me. Sorry, sister, I'll only take Mom for a little while. Once I feel better, I'll give her back to you. Performing a little drama, I quickly stood up, glancing carefully at my parents. Mom, Dad, sister and you have a deep bond. Since she's sick, Mom should stay with her. Mom, I can sleep by myself tonight. You should stay at the hospital with her. I deftly resolved the situation. Childish, do you think I'm the same girl longing for motherly love and care? You want their company, take it all. You won't be around much longer anyway. Mom patted my head. Lily, you're so considerate. Lucy's face grew even more unpleasant. She seems to have realized that I'm not as easy to deal with as she thought. This time, when Lucy went to the hospital, she complained about headaches, or itchy skin, and stayed for more than 10 days. Maybe she couldn't keep up the act anymore, so she had my mom take her home. At the dinner table, she kept putting food on my parents and my plates, trying too hard to please us. Just as I was holding a big bowl of hot soup, she stood up and knocked over my bowl. The hot soup spilled on her, making her cry out in pain. Sister, why did you pour it on me? My parents hurriedly got up and looked at me in confusion, because Lucy had been blocking their view, and they didn't see anything. Lucy cried out again, and Susan rushed over to help. Only then did my parents come to handle the situation, washing and applying ice to her burns. Later, she sat opposite me applying burn ointment. Dad, Mom, please don't blame my sister. She didn't mean it. Before my parents could say anything, I raised my red and swollen right hand, showing where the skin had broken and a large blister had formed. Sister, it really wasn't on purpose. You moved up too quickly and bumped into me. I tried to move the bowl, but I couldn't protect you. Dad, Mom, it's all my fault. I couldn't even protect my sister. Actually, this wasn't from the soup just now. I burned myself while they were treating Lucy. Only with a more severe injury could I be more convincing. With my impeccable performance, my parents rushed to me, carefully cleaning my burn, and casting a silent glance at Lucy. My injury was too severe, so I ended up in the hospital while Lucy sat alone, pale. That afternoon, back at home, my parents went to their room while Lucy sat silently beside me, like a dark cloud hanging over her. I tilted my head, gave her a mocking laugh, and said, "Your methods are too immature. Lucy, have you forgotten your place here after nesting so long?" She turned to me in shock, her expression darkening. "I knew you had bad intentions. Just wait. Even if you're their real daughter, you won't beat me." With everything out in the open, I had nothing to hold back. Grabbing her hair, I coldly said, "Get out of here." She cried out in pain, and our parents hurried over. She sobbed pitifully. "Dad, Mom, my sister hit me and pulled my hair." Susan, who had been watching, quickly spoke up, fearing any delay would make them lose control. "Sir, it was indeed the young lady who acted first." My parents looked at me angrily as I stood up and tried to walk away. They called me back, and tears rolled down my face. "Yes, I hit her, but she said I'd always be Mary's child. She said you intentionally lost me, because you didn't like me, and I didn't deserve your love. She said you brought me back only out of guilt." "Dad, Mom, I finally have a family." Hearing this, I lost control and hit her. "It's my fault. I'm willing to let my sister hit me back. But," I paused for a moment before continuing, "but if you really don't like me, I can leave. I don't want to make things hard for you." These words stabbed them like knives. My mom couldn't hold back anymore and hugged me sobbing. "No, Dad and Mom never thought that. We both love you so much. We've never slept while looking for you all these years." My dad's eyes were full of emotion. "Kid, this is your home." Lucy's face went pale from the successive shocks, and she yelled angrily, "Dad, Mom, she's lying. I never said that." I bit my lip. "If my sister doesn't like me, I'll just leave." To comfort me, my dad turned sternly toward Lucy. "Lucy, I remember you being very sensible. How could you say such things to hurt your sister? Lucy kept explaining while Susan and others chirped along, making my dad lose his patience. Enough, stop talking. Lucy, your sister had a tough time before. You need to take care of her. Dad and Mom love you both equally, so don't overthink. Lucy stomped her feet in frustration, while Susan anxiously sweated. That's just the beginning. They used these tactics so many times in the last life. In the following days, my parents' attitude toward Lucy noticeably cooled. Lucy tried hard to make up for it by doing chores and massaging their shoulders. After all, they had raised her for so many years, and in the end, my parents were moved. This setback made Susan and Lucy quiet for a few days. Just in time for school, my dad arranged for me to attend Lucy's school, making us classmates. Knowing I hadn't studied before, Lucy couldn't wait to tell everyone on the first day. Lily is a hick and illiterate, can't even read or write. My dad's wealth in B City far exceeded others, and Lucy had lots of pocket money to form a little gang in the elite school. With her cronies growing, so did the people harassing and bullying me. Some would make me recite the multiplication table, laughing at me as if I was stupid. Others would draw turtles on my books, assuming I couldn't read a word. Finally, I dumped all the trash stuffed in my desk on Lucy's table, glaring coldly at her. Come at me yourself if you dare. Having minions do your dirty work is cowardly. She scoffed, crossing her arms. You really are a dumbass. I smiled. Since you think I'm dumb, how about a bet? I bet my rank will be higher than yours in the next exam. If I win, tell Dad and Mom to give you only $300 a month in allowance. If I lose, do whatever you want. She sneered. You. Her cronies dared not speak now, because they realized I was also the richest man's daughter. Dare to bet? Under everyone's gaze, she arrogantly replied, fine. She wrote up the agreement, and we signed 2 copies. I took mine to show my parents. My sister and I are competing to improve our studies. Can you both be our witnesses? They happily agreed. Midterm exam results. No need to elaborate on the midterm exam results. Even if she'd spend another decade studying, she wouldn't beat me. Ever since the previous life, her grades have always lagged behind mine. Back then, I cherished this hard-earned life and listened to my parents. I studied hard, sleeping only 5 hours a day, and taking extra lessons for 6 months. Finally, I caught up with the middle school syllabus. After that, I kept working hard and stayed on top. As for her, she expected to gain success without any effort in both academics and life. She was nothing but a clown who cheated in exams. When the grades were announced, everyone looked at me in surprise, then turned to look at Lucy with complex expressions. She appeared flustered, glaring at me through gritted teeth. Back home, after showing the report card to my parents, they praised me as a genius. Under my scrutiny, my parents took away Lucy's bank card. 3rd place is not bad, keep it up. If you improve by 1 rank next time, Mom will give you your card back. Lucy nodded tearfully. I smiled because I knew that the student in 2nd place was the one who cheated for her. Their family was strict. I could only get 2nd place, and dropping any further wouldn't sit well with my family either. It was too difficult for her to get 2nd place. Afterwards, Lucy became the most miserable student at school. While her classmates enjoyed exquisite Western food, she hid in the classroom eating bread. On weekends, while her classmates discussed where to hang out, or what bags and shoes to buy, she could only caress her empty wallet, gritting her teeth in resentment. Even at gatherings she once loved, she couldn't present a decent gift. Gradually, the people hanging around her decreased until she was left alone. Those who once mocked me along with her now cast disdainful glances her way. I've got it all figured out. She's just an adopted daughter of the White family. The real daughter is Lily. You shouldn't be cozying up to the wrong person. Didn't you notice that as soon as the real daughter came back, the White family didn't give her any spending money? She's bound to be kicked out sooner or later. Oh boy, a fake being all high and mighty. She's not even as good as me. Lucy caught a few classmates gossiping about her. Her face turned red with anger. You weren't like this when you were sucking up to me. She already had a bad temper, and many couldn't stand her. Miss Smith, who used to get bullied by her, sneered. Do you really think they were sucking up to you? They were sucking up to the White family. What are you, a fake? I chuckled, and Lucy's eyes turned red with rage. Infuriated by my taunting gaze, she slapped Miss Smith. How dare you talk to me? Though the Smiths were the 2nd richest in B City, they were no match for the Whites. However, Miss Smith was also pampered and couldn't bear being slapped for no reason, so she fought back immediately. They pulled each other's hair and scratched arms, creating chaos until a teacher was summoned. In the end, my parents were called to the school. On one hand, it was clear that Lucy started the fight. On the other hand, My dad didn't want to be seen as unreasonable. So, the issue was resolved with an apology from my parents. At home, Lucy stood in the living room. My dad frowned in anger. I haven't apologized to anyone in years, and now you make me grovel. My mom patted his chest. Don't be angry. Fighting among kids is normal. Lucy tearfully apologized, promising never to do it again. Though it was a minor issue, to teach her a lesson, I comforted her while persuading my dad not to give her any more cards for 2 years. Lucy cried even harder. She was now utterly broke, but Tom, Susan's biological son and Lucy's real brother, was the most anxious. Susan wasn't very capable, but undoubtedly loved her children. Her biological daughter, sent off to live as a wealthy heiress, couldn't be favored too much over her son. So, the son who wasn't swapped enjoyed her doting. Lucy never lacked money. After learning Susan was her birth mother, she gave half her monthly allowance to her. Tens of thousands weren't a small amount. Tom lived in luxury, always wearing expensive clothes, residing in a big house downtown, and never lifting a finger. Susan believed Lucy could support them for life. Tom thought his mom earned a high salary as a maid in a rich household. They spent money generously, never saving anything. Lucy considered herself a princess already, always thinking her allowance wasn't enough. With no savings, her financial support now cut off, Susan was anxious, constantly discussing something in Lucy's room. Remembering the experience from my previous life, I turned on a small camera I had bought and placed it inconspicuously in the room before leaving. In a dim alley, I saw Tom squatting at the entrance of an underground casino, smoking irritably. Damn it, they kissed up to me when I had money and now won't even let me in. Fucking gold diggers. Tom was addicted to gambling. In my previous life, after my death, Lucy inherited my dad's company. Knowing Lucy was his sister, Tom gambled and racked up debts. Lucy was ruthless, severing ties with him despite Susan's pleas, and watched as casino thugs chopped off his fingers. I could still remember his screams and tears, the pain making him faint. If he knew the adopted daughter of the richest family was his blood sister, he wouldn't be so frustrated. Poor thing. Someone should help him. Back home, my parents sat on the sofa looking upset. Lucy kept her head down, occasionally glancing at me. What's wrong, Mom and Dad? I asked knowingly. They motioned for me to sit. Your mom's necklace is missing. Do you know where it is? Lucy shook her head. I don't know. I also shook my head. My parents' faces grew darker. The housekeeper took the day off. The surveillance shows only you two entering and leaving the second floor. You're young. Sometimes you stray, but acknowledging your mistakes is most important. Admit it now and we won't blame you. Neither of us spoke. After a few more attempts, they started searching our rooms. The necklace was found under my pillow. My dad, furious, nearly slapped me. Haven't we given you enough money? If you need more, just ask. Why steal? My mom crossed her arms, face cold. Lily, this is a bad habit. I cried. I didn't steal. My dad yelled. Then tell me, how did this necklace end up in your room? Does it have legs? Lucy was so worked up that she could barely hide her excitement, her voice trembling as she spoke. Mom, Dad, I remember we have lots of confidential documents at home. If the sister just stole a necklace, it's fine. But if she steals those documents, that'd be really bad. In her eagerness to get rid of me, Lucy stopped pretending to be nice and tried to make Mom and Dad think the worst. Sure enough, their faces looked grim. Crying, I went to my room and came out with a video camera. The school is going on a field trip. I bought this camera in advance to test it out. It's been on all day today when I wasn't home. Maybe we should check it out. Lucy's face turned pale and she screamed, no. Mom and Dad stared at her with a strange look in their eyes, took the camera from my hand and started watching it. After a while, my dad, towering over her, stood up and slapped Lucy hard across the face. Why did you try to frame your sister? Haven't we treated you well? Lucy collapsed onto the couch, blood trickling from the corner of her mouth, as she sobbed uncontrollably. Even though my mom was furious, she still felt protective and went over to Lucy, choking out, enough, even if she's wrong, you can't hit her this hard. Oh, what a good mother. Suddenly, I wanted to laugh. When Dad wanted to send me to the operating table in my past life, where was this protective love then? Dad's fury scared Lucy so much she passed out, and had to be taken to the hospital, where they gave her oxygen to bring her around. Later, Dad felt guilty for hitting her too hard, so both he and Mom stayed at the hospital to take care of her. Meanwhile, I went into their room, used my memory to open the safe, and successfully found the White family's account books, and took photos of them. When I went to check on Lucy, the ward was quite lively. Tom was there, arrogantly holding out his hand to my mom and dad. Lucy is my mom's daughter, my little sister. What's wrong with me asking my sister for money? Isn't she your adopted daughter? If she doesn't have money, you should give her some. Tom, Susan's son, truly proved that birds of a feather flock together. Everything had to go his way. You'd think he had the right to demand everything. My parents were deeply shocked by Tom. After a long pause, Dad asked, "Who is your mother?" Tom replied proudly, "Susan, of course, the nanny who works at your house." He was so smug. When I told him about Lucy's identity, I made a point of saying how close she was to our parents, that they always treated her like their own daughter despite knowing she wasn't. Tom figured that if they could give shares to Lucy, surely they'd give him whatever he wanted. Susan had been working loyally for the Whites for years and was highly trusted by my parents. Tom, dreaming of his future comforts, demanded, "I want 70 grand. Give it to me and I'll leave. I'll come back next month for more." My parents called Susan to come over as Lucy woke up, looking at Tom like she saw a ghost. "I don't know him, really." "Mom, Dad, can you make him leave? I don't want to see him. He's just here to scam us, to take our money." Tom, getting impatient, snapped, "I'm your brother, and you're calling me a scammer. Wait till Mom arrives. See if she's not gonna slap you." "Girl, weren't you always loaded? You've been giving us money for years." Lucy tried to play crazy to get out of it, but Dad, furious, demanded Susan come over. When Susan showed up, she looked scared out of her wits seeing her son there. "Mom," Tom, clueless, strutted over, "Tell them, isn't Lucy your daughter? Isn't she my sister?" Susan tried to laugh it off. "Sir, madam, I'm sorry. This is my son. He has some mental issues and often talks nonsense. I apologize for disturbing you. I'll take him away now." Tom pushed her away. "What are you talking about? I'm not sick. Why won't you admit it? You've been avoiding this for days now." Then Tom pulled out a photo. It was a picture of a young Susan with a baby. The baby had a clear mole on the right cheek. After looking at the photo for a few moments, disbelief filled my parents' eyes. They knew Lucy's face at all stages of her life by heart. Susan tried to deny everything. "This was taken when I just started working for you as your nanny. I thought the baby was cute, so I took her out to get a photo. Look at the date." Tom pointed to the text on the bottom. March 2nd, 2001, taken at B City Hospital. Susan had taken this picture before making the swap, probably thinking she might never see her daughter again. Even I didn't expect Tom to find it. My parents were dumbfounded. Dad, a seasoned businessman, quickly saw through Susan's scheming. "Did you secretly swap daughters? Selling my kid off and having yours steal her life?" Dad's fury was like a freezing storm. Susan, trembling, collapsed to the ground. Dad called the police, and Susan and Tom were taken away. With just the four of us in the hospital room, the atmosphere was tense. Lucy fainted when the photo came out, and my parents, looks complex, stared at her for a long time without speaking. Lucy's fainting spell lasted a whole day and night. The doctor insisted it was impossible, and Dad finally patted her. "Wake up. You've been with us for so many years. We won't do anything to you." Only then did Lucy wake, with tears in her eyes. "Mom, Dad, I was afraid you wouldn't want me anymore. I found out Susan was my birth mother when I was 6. I have no feelings for her. I only see you as my parents. She threatened me, said if I didn't give her money, she'd reveal my identity. That's why I did those things." These words didn't matter anymore. After much consideration, my parents compromised. "As long as you change your ways and cut ties with them, we'll continue to raise you." Lucy immediately swore, bowing and kowtowing. I watched it all, feeling cold inside. I remember, in my previous life, she was in the late stages of kidney disease and couldn't find a suitable donor. My dad forced me to donate my kidney to her, and I begged desperately. But my dad beat me up, saying I was heartless for not saving her. "You shouldn't have been brought back in the first place." But now, facing someone as filthy as Lucy, they still chose to forgive. Some decisions had to be made. Later, Susan went to jail, and Tom was released. I hired someone to find my dad's archenemy, and sent him all the photos of the account books. He found countless discrepancies, and sued the White family. My dad was overwhelmed. My mom scrambled to find someone to fix things. I gave Tom a big chunk of money, which he blew through, leaving him back at my door deep in gambling debt. Lucy, on high alert, dragged him out. After a long time, Lucy came back late at night, and I quietly listened in my room as she went to the bedroom. The next day, I called my dad. The video of Lucy stealing money from his room was crystal clear. My dad, already annoyed from the leaked secrets, caught the thief and furiously yanked her hair, slamming her head against the wall. "You're not my real daughter, but we treated you like one. How could you still steal necklaces, money? It doesn't matter. But touching the company's account books, I'm going to beat you to death, you ungrateful brat." Susan was a lowlife, and her daughter is the same. "Get out of my sight. I never want to see you again." Lucy was trembling, collapsing in a pool of blood. "Dad, please, please don't abandon me. I was wrong. I'll never do it again." "Dad, Don't kick me out, please. I don't want to leave, really. She seemed dazed, curling up on the floor, blankly repeating those words. My dad yanked her up and ordered the bodyguards to throw her out. Lucy climbed up and cried while banging on the door, calling for her dad. But my dad already left, as the court summons had arrived. In the pouring rain that night, I stood with an umbrella, looking at the drenched, bloody figure outside. Lucy, congratulations, you finally got your life back. Hearing my voice, she bolted up, trying to charge at me, but I kicked her away. From now on, you have no parents and no money, but you still have a gambling-addicted brother. Isn't that exciting? Having taken my place for so many years, you've had enough luxury. Spend the rest of your life atoning for it. She swore at me, making threats like a wounded animal, harmless but annoying. Oh, and don't expect Mom and Dad to have any lingering affection for you. They'll be worse off than you. As for your birth mother, let me tell you, she put you here just for your brother. And guess what? Your brother owes over $1 million. You'll need to work your whole life to pay it off. She screamed and ran off like a wild thing under my taunting. In the dark, I heard her crying and laughing intermittently. When my mom came back and learned what had happened, her blood pressure spiked. After taking some pills, she resolutely stated she was going to find Lucy. She's still a child. Everyone makes mistakes. She can change. Your dad shouldn't be so harsh. Do you know where she is? I nodded and pointed in the direction of the gate. She hurried out the door. Watching her back, I expressionlessly closed the curtains. After a few loud crashes and screams, I saw her being hit by a car and thrown several meters while crossing the street. Lying in a pool of blood, she looked in my direction. I waved and mouthed, "Have a nice journey." My mom couldn't be saved. She had crossed in a rush without checking the traffic lights, and the driver was only sentenced to a year. The bad news hadn't yet reached my isolated, investigated father's ears. He would probably never find out. His company got caught for tax evasion and commercial fraud. The enormous compensation caused the company to go bankrupt, and he got a 5-year sentence. His scandals were all over the news. He became a public enemy. When I visited him in prison, he asked dully, "Is your mom really dead?" I nodded and calmly said, "Yes, it was awful. She got hit and died while going to find Lucy." "Why did she go?" "What if she hadn't? If she didn't go, that driver wouldn't have appeared. She could have lived, at least survived." My dad broke down crying, and I comforted him. "Don't worry. Do your time well in prison. When you get out." I smiled sinisterly and said, "I'll make sure you suffer even more." He looked at me, terrified. I waved and walked away. From the start, I had already transferred their wealth to me. Although it was only tens of millions, it was enough for my education and growth. I studied hard over the years and got into a good university. I heard that Susan was released. Her son, in debt, fled. Those ruthless debt collectors cut off her right hand, leaving her to beg for a living. But her vile actions had spread. No one was willing to give her money. Even the community's aid was taken by the debt collectors before reaching her. Eventually, after months of suffering, she was beaten and had her leg broken for stealing. One cold night, she lay under a bridge and closed her eyes forever. And Tom didn't disappoint. In another city, he continued gambling. This time he was found and beaten half to death, left crippled, waiting for his life's end. After leaving B City, I gradually forgot those things. On a business trip back to B City, I saw a woman in rags, laughing and eating out of a dog bowl in an alley. A vicious dog bit her as she devoured the food, seemingly oblivious to the pain. I recognized her tear mole and approached. "Lucy." On hearing her name, she looked up at me, blinking and even barked twice. I smiled. "Do you regret it?" A hint of struggle flashed in her eyes, then she became numb. She seemed unable to speak anymore. I turned and left. Her life was over, mine had just begun.